Hello and welcome back once again to a Boomer 11 live on the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. We are back. A little bit of a short break, but we are definitely back. And so is the fact, we have already the third place winners for this year's World Cup. It's going to be Croatia. You would say a well-deserved farewell to the like of Luka Modric. At least, if not the title, then at least something to savor for him. I think a World Cup definitely to savor for Croatia. Morocco, however, have had their the second time that a team has scored against them, and incredibly enough, tomorrow they are even though they have ended up fourth, tomorrow the team that loses the World Cup will have lost more matches than I think more matches or equal amount of matches that Morocco has lost. So Morocco has not had a bad World Cup by any standard, but a great match, obviously. And then tomorrow, the title clash that is what we're all waiting for. Argentina versus France, Mbappe versus Messi. You would say a veteran versus, wouldn't say a rookie, but definitely a rising star. I have with me Abel. Abel, let me just start with the big question, right? Tomorrow, France versus Argentina. Is Messi finally going to lay his hands on a trophy? On the World Cup trophy, rather.
I mean, you've asked the toughest question, or the most anticipated question, which I think were close to 3 billion, 4 billion, or the 7 billion people in the world want to know. Let's talk about football, right? If I talk about this, is the most precious or the most coveted trophy in world football at this point, or the most coveted trophy in sporting history, and Messi is so close to actually achieving this. And
Yeah.
I will just say is we did manifest that, you know um we did manifest that, one of the South American team is going to come extremely close of winning it. One of the South American teams might make it happen. So I'm glad that one of our predictions did come true in terms of that. And I'm so glad it's also Argentina who has made it to the final and not the uh, yellow South American nation Brazil. So it feels a little bit more better in that way. But talking about Messi coming close, 8 years, I remember watching him in the final in 2014. I was extremely disappointed as an Argentinian fan. I don't want to
Of
be talking as
course.
a fan over here, but it's tough when, especially when you're playing a
It
World Cup
does
final.
creep in, and
It
at
does creep in. It does creep in, and that's one of the
this
reasons why
stage,
you
I think it's hard not to be a
the
fan.
badge. I wear the badge on my heart all the time when I talk about it. But the fact is that I hope there's a third star. There's space for a third star tomorrow to come in. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's what it is gonna be. To be very honest, it's gonna be a emotional ride. It has been an emotional ride. It's gonna be an emotional game for a lot of players. Remember, it's possibly gonna be Messi's last game in Argentinian colors, Di Maria's last game, Otamendi's last game. We never know. A lot of players are going to actually hang their boots after tomorrow's game. So it's been a journey which has started from 2018-19 since Lionel Scaloni took over. But then he has had an
Yeah.
incredible run so far in building this formidable unit who has reached semi-final of a Copa America, final was won a Copa America, won a Finalissima, final of a World Cup. Nothing gets better than this, Jaren.
Absolutely, and the fact that it's going to be Lionel Messi who's going to be playing. He's already gone out to say that this is going to be his last World Cup match ever for Argentina, win or loss. Big deal. I mean, obviously, 2014 he came close. He came close. Not only the fact that he ended up in the finals, he came close because he hit the post and it was almost the winning goal. But of course, it's not to be. But tomorrow could be the day. But standing in Messi and company's way is Mbappe and company. The French team has had a great run so far. They've looked really good. They had a lot of injury concerns, especially in their defense, that they had to deal with. They also had Benzema, Nkunku, who were missing out. It seemed like this French team is going to again get caught up in that kind of World Cup curse which has been happening. But this team has not only broken that, they could be the first ever defending champion in the last 60 years to finally lift the World Cup trophy back to back.
I mean, that's an extremely incredible stat to have, to be honest, because we sitting
Yeah,
here rightly predicted that France are not even going to top the group, but then they've gone past our expectations. They've gone past
yeah,
every person's expectations to make it to the final. That in itself is an incredible stat to actually achieve. But to talk about the France national team, people need to understand that they don't play the most beautiful football. If you want to really enjoy football, if you look at even against Morocco, they had what 39% of ball possession. Morocco had the
And that's
better
against
team.
Morocco, by the way. Morocco, a team which has been accused of playing a similar kind of football.
Yeah, exactly. And so France are not here to please anyone, and Didier Deschamps are not here to please anyone. But Didier Deschamps has given that freedom to players like Antoine Griezmann, given the freedom to players like Mbappe to play and play anything as you want in the attacking transitions. But when it comes to defending, put your bodies behind. Don't press. Be a little conservative. It's okay. Don't cause a lot of damage to yourself, at the same time try to hurt the opposition more. So it's a very interesting thing actually. At the same time, when you talk about teams like Spain, or when you talk about teams like Germany, or even for Argentina or Brazil to an extent, they like to press on trigger moments. They like to maintain a high line of defense. Even Croatia, for example, did like to do that. But France, on the other end, even in the last World Cup, you saw that they're not the most most expansive team. They like to be extremely pragmatic, and Didier Deschamps comes in or is known to be extremely pragmatic, and that's what you need in international football. If you look at Lionel Scaloni or Didier Deschamps, they're of a similar mold. They're not going to give you the most vibrant football, but they know how to churn out results, and they know how to churn out results in the most prolific way, in which it can hurt the opposition and give no chance to the opposition at all. Now, if you look at Argentina, the entire World Cup, what they've conceded uh, 3 goals in the entire World Cup. France, on the other hand, have had a very France. No, Argentina have conceded 5 goals, and France have conceded in every game they played. So that's a very bad stat to have. On the
Yeah.
other hand, except Morocco, until leading up to Morocco, they did concede in every game. So
I think Evil has just staged a walkout right here. I mean, but yeah, I mean, talking about this team, right? I mean, you have to talk about the fact that the French team has struggled in terms of their injuries. There are a lot of news actually just coming out of the French camp as well. That Benzema, for instance, who's now cleared to play football, who was available rather to be selected back to that final squad. He isn't part of the squad. He's rejected the invitation from what we know to join the squad back. There is again claims of some squabbles that have been happening. So, I mean, overall, if you really look at it, you really see that, there are some rumors coming out of the French team that the French team is unsettled. In many ways, there's also rumors that it was that Kunate and Rafael Varane were not well. They were having a certain illness, and that was pretty much that was pretty much these are the kind of things that are coming out of the French team as well. So there is some bit of unsettled French team that we are coming again. The kind of things that we talked about initially as well, that there are certain issues with this French team when it comes to team spirit and everything else. But it seems like those issues are cropping up again, and the Benzema issue is a real surprise, to be honest. There seems to be, that Didier Deschamps did not want to keep him in the squad, and he was, even though there was a possibility that Benzema would return by the time the finals would arrive, but it seems that Didier Deschamps did not want him, even though he did not even replace. There was no replacement made as well. But it seems like Didier Deschamps. I mean, there had been an invitation for Benzema to come, but Benzema said he's gone out on an Instagram post and said that he is not interested. It seems so. That has been an incredible what do you say, turnaround as well. But you have to also talk about the fact that this match is going to be happening in Lusail Stadium with a capacity of 88,000, or rather very close to 89,000. 88,966 is the capacity. The story really is and has to be, with Messi and Lusail Stadium, that whole story that is turning out to be, because it all started when Saudi Arabia defeated Argentina 2-1 in Lusail Stadium, and everyone felt like the story is going to be repeated once again, and things are going to be, of a similar stature. But then the way Argentina came back in the match against Mexico, which happened in the same ground, and then obviously you had the quarterfinals and then the semi-final. So things have really looked up for Messi in Lusail Stadium. He's enjoyed his game here. He's enjoyed his time here, and he is looking like a man on a mission, isn't it? Because there have been many fans, many Argentinian fans who've been comparing his performance to the likes of Maradona, the kind of zest that he's showing on the pitch. He's no more the nice guy Messi, isn't it? He's become the Messi who's in your face, who's the Messi who's become ready to fight for his teammates just as much as his teammates are ready to fight for him. And Abel, as I have back, I was talking about how Messi and his change in character, sort of, right? People are saying that Maradona-esque aggression is what they're seeing in Messi. You see that Messi is a man on mission. And I also spoke about how Lusail Stadium is where it all began for Messi and Argentina, when they lost 2-1 against Saudi Arabia. Many fans all around the world felt like maybe this is the start of the same old swan song. I mean, same old song, where Argentina looks like a very good setup, and come the World Cup, they look lackluster. But now Lusail Stadium has, born then from then on. It has born triumphant return of Messi, because we've seen how well he's done against Mexico in Lusail Stadium. Then the quarterfinals, the semifinals. It's been Lusail Stadium and Messi, this whole story, right? And now the final is going to be in Lusail Stadium as well.
Yeah, I mean, Argentina played most number of matches in Lusail Stadium, and that's a good stat to have, and it really makes them feel at home over there. And
Yeah.
remember, tomorrow there is an expect of 80,000 Argentinian fans in the stadium, and that's gonna
I
beat
mean,
all World Cup
I
records.
won't.
You,
You will. There's 89,000 is what the official attendance capacity is. I won't be surprised if there are 80 or maybe 90,000, 1 lakh. Maybe. I mean,
and no,
which is
no, the
very
fact
much.
is that in World Cup finals or any football tournament finals like UEFA finals or FIFA finals, you're not supposed to give excessive amount of tickets to a particular fan base. It's usually equally divided. Then
Hmm.
you have your official members of FIFA, official
Yeah, yeah,
members,
yeah.
or your prime ministers, your presidents who travel in, and their delegates. So it's divided in that set. So 5,000 is reserved for the official members, and rest, if it's 80,000, then it's divided into 40 or 50/30. It's divided in a very equal number. But here, what has happened, there have been 45,000 Argentinians who have made their way into Qatar over the last couple of days, and they have given away tickets to Argentinians in such a huge number that tomorrow's expected attendance are going to be 80,000, in which there are going to be 55,000 local Argentinians. And that is a crazy number, and that's going to be the first time in World Cup history you're going to see one fan base dominate. And it's going to exactly
Yeah.
look like it's in Bombonera in Argentina, or in River Plate Stadium. And that's going to be, and if you're playing in, if you've actually watched any matches of River Plate or Boca Juniors, or whenever Argentina plays in their home ground in
Yeah, yeah.
um, in, for example, Buenos Aires, so you know the fans and their impact what they can create, because they
Oh,
are the most
I mean,
terrifying
you guys
fans in
should
the world.
really check out those videos. I myself have checked some of these videos, as Abel is saying. You will literally feel the stadium shaking, the foundation shaking. When a goal is scored or when the team is on top, that fan base will make sure that the opposition knows they are on top. And a French team will be looking to silence them, but it's not easy to silence 80,000 Argentinians who really believe that this is their year.
Absolutely, Jen, and that's the thing about the Argentinian fans. And if you talk about South American fan base, the Argentinian fans are known as the most fearsome ultras across
Yeah.
the world. and and it's actually advised that you should not go with your families to any of the matches, because
Oh, they
the
don't.
kind of
They don't go to these matches with their families in Argentina. They don't. It's not
they
family
don't they
friendly
don't
there.
It is not, and there's a reason why it is not family friendly. It's not like what you see in European matches where it's
Yeah, yeah.
pretty much more comfortable. Though you have chance, it's very much more civil. Though there's hooliganism, but then it's nothing like what you see in South America. It is a fanatic place, and if you're going to have those kind of fans tomorrow in the stadium, and if they're going to really have a triumphal night, I wonder what Qatar is going to look like, because you already saw it in the fan parks in Qatar. They're singing the songs, and Argentinian chants have become the most popular across internet, because those chants, though it's in the local language, but when you translate it, has got a very very cheeky meaning to it, where they say that we are the dad of Brazil, Maradona is better than Pele,
Oh, I heard
Messi.
this one chat about how the French players are not actually French nationality. That's a
Yeah,
very interesting chat.
it's very interesting because if you're not a native Argentinian, if you do not know the language, it sounds very, very sweet to your ears. But in reality, if
But
you didn't
it's
understand, it's
not.
an absolute,
It's
absolute dig
not.
on your team
Yeah.
or whatever it is. And it's beautiful to listen to because that's what that's what football is all about. You need to have that kind of banter, and that's
Yeah.
what's making the cultural differences
I think
also.
Abel, not to sound like Peter Dury, but I think it's more like a sinister symphony, where it's an amazing song, it's an amazing chant, the synchronization is there, but the meaning is very sinister.
Absolutely. And that's what's going to make a lot of difference as well. That's what's made the difference for Argentina
Yeah.
throughout the World Cup. If you look on paper of Argentina, if you compare them with any European squad, they really do not have the talent pool to compete with a lot of European squads. Let it be with
Hmm.
Netherlands, let it be with Croatia, let it be even with France tomorrow. But then the 12th man of this team, which has been the fans, or I'll call them the 13th man, have really been exemplary for this team. That force has really driven them into the final. That force has really helped them to get so far in the tournament. And I think for the one last time, I think you're going to see the biggest vocal, and tomorrow is going to be their biggest chance to win a World Cup in this decade.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
biggest chance for them to actually get their hands on after 1986. Though 1990 they came very close, but it was nothing close to defeating that West Germany squad. So tomorrow is their
2014,
biggest
man.
chance.
I mean, it was
And
inches Abel.
remember that the France national team are not in the best of shape. Let's talk about the French camp right now, right? The
Yeah, I
French
mean, I
camp.
just spoke about it when you were not there in the live as well, because we're seeing a lot of rifts coming out of the French team. Benzema has said on an Instagram post that he's not interested to play the final.
But
We are seeing,
Jaren, that's what I keep
yeah,
talking because I was talking about the French national team before I actually got cut off due to an internet issue. So talking about the French national team, one thing which Didier Deschamps have done exceedingly well has been the fact that he has kept this unit together, has not let
hmm,
any media or outside pressure really get inside the camp, which has made sure this camp really stays in unison with each other, actually plays a certain way just which the manager wants them to play. They might not have played the best football to get into the final. Even against England, they were the second best team on the pitch.
they were,
Even
they
against
were.
Morocco, in terms of just the gameplay, they were not the best team on the pitch. But to get the result in every game they've turned out, that's just a fantastic stat to have. And I think Didier Deschamps will have that experience of being a player in the final himself, have coached his team to a final in the
Yeah.
last World Cup, and now coaching the team into a final once again. He'll have that extra bit of edge over Lionel Scaloni to how to manage a game in the final. Final is
Mhm.
not mainly about tactics; it's about how to manage a game, and I think
Yeah,
that's where Didier Deschamps has got that nose ahead of Lionel Scaloni at this point. But having said that, Lionel Scaloni is also a very good game manager. You saw that in the Copa America final when Argentina took that
yeah.
lead. It was very easy for them to give away that lead to a extremely attacking Brazilian squad. But the way in which they managed the game, the way in which they were able to kill the game out, that's why Lionel Scaloni also stands out. But here is an opportunity for Didier Deschamps to actually come in or lock horns with someone who has got a very similar philosophy as him. And also remember, in Argentinian camp, there's also someone called as Walter James, who's a legendary defender in himself. His tactical masterclass throughout the course of this World Cup journey also has been very good. From whatever reports I've read from the Argentinian camp, whatever I've been able to gather, it's been told that this lad has really put in a lot of inputs into Lionel Scaloni's head in terms of the way they should be lining up. If you look at Lionel Scaloni's every lineup leading into this final, it's been very different. There has been no single game where he has gone with the same lineup.
Hmm.
Tactics, formation, players, there has been a shuffle in every game. So it's very
And
tough
it,
to.
so what
Yeah,
really strikes me here, Abel, is the fact that it's tailor made for the opposition, right? You don't see that often with football managers. Football managers always love to have a philosophy, have a certain philosophy. I'm not saying Scaloni doesn't have a philosophy, but most often we have seen football managers struggle when there's a formation that could potentially overpower the formation that a particular manager likes. But what we saw, for instance, let's say against Croatia, right? We spoke in our analysis how the Brazilian team's, midfield would struggle against the Croatian midfield because there were three box-to-box midfielders against one Casemiro who had to defend the ball or wrestle the ball away from all three of them. But what Scaloni did in that Argentina versus Croatia match, that is that he filled his midfield with four players, and he had only two players. I think Julian Alvarez and Lionel Messi as the attackers. Four of them, four players in the midfield, and that made sure that those four players overpowered and were overpowering the Croatian midfield. So that formation was tailor made for the Croatian midfield, for the Croatian formation rather. And that is something that we've seen from Scaloni, right? He's adjusted on the basis of what he expects the opposition manager to do, and that is an incredible capability to have. It's a risk versus reward. It's a risk versus reward kind of a strategy which has worked in his favor, isn't it?
It has certainly worked so far, and I'm expecting it to work in the last game as well, because he had to do this not because of something which he wanted to do, because he was forced to do it. Now if you look in the last game, there was no Acuna, there was no Di Maria, so he had to go to players who he
Yeah,
had to fit
yeah.
into that particular game or into that system, who can play against a Croatian team. Look, what did Argentina have? Argentina had 36% ball possession, but they scored 3 goals and they grabbed whatever chances came their way. But on the flip side of things, if you look at France, a very similar setup, but the way they play is pretty much predictable. What happens is Chouameni does all this. He's an enforcer in the midfielder. He can do
Hmm.
a very aggressive job in the midfield to win the ball, then pass it on to Rabiot to Griezmann, then Griezmann creates the play. Talking about the best player of the tournament, I think we need to have a complete segment on Griezmann. Griezmann has had one of the best tournaments of his lifetime. People talk about Euros of 2016, people talk about World Cup of 2018, but I personally think this World Cup, in the position he's been put up in, understanding there has been no N'Golo Kante, there has been no Paul Pogba in that team, for Griezmann to really come in and to actually take up that role and to actually do it with so much of perfection. I've not seen a lot of midfielders do it, but then this lad has done it with so much of perfection. This lad has done it with like so much of ability to do it. And remember, Griezmann has not been going through the best of times in his career. If you look at his career
Hmm.
graph, since 2019, his career graph has really had a complete fall down. It's just been a graph which has been dipping at a very quick rate, and that's something which is really turned around in this World Cup. And his stocks have instantly risen up because of the fact
Yeah.
that he's had an incredible World Cup. It's a thing with World Cups, right? When you do well in a World Cup, your stocks instantly tend to rise. Now, for example, for Guardiola, until that Messi moment, he had possibly the highest stock as a defender, at
I mean, he
least
did
a
a great
30
job
to
today as well. It was just, Messi just makes you look like you're nothing. Today again he did a great job, which we will speak about
But
obviously.
you know
He was
what?
one of the goal scorers for
Sosco
Croatia.
Guardiola should not actually have anything taken away from that, because Messi
Yeah.
has done this with what, four generation of defenders. He has done this with
Yes.
Nesta, Cannavaro. He's done this with Ramos. He's done this with Boateng. He's
I
done
mean, I was
this
just
with.
going through a tweet table, and the tweet basically said that as a coach, what you teach your defenders is, you make sure you don't tackle a player, you don't throw in a silly challenge, especially when a player is in the box. You try and push him away, reduce the angle, that the striker or the attacker can go after the goal. Make sure that you cover all angles. And Guardiola did. He pushed Messi to the final line, right? But it's just Messi magic. You cannot
Oh, it
stop
is.
it
It
when
is.
it is
It is.
written in the stars.
It is Messi magic, and ultimately only one person could have possibly done that. But
Yeah.
coming back to Griezmann again, just putting out the way in which he has had a tournament. For me, if France wins the World Cup over Mbappe, I'll give the golden ball to Griezmann, just for the fact that he has been the most prolific, most number of chances created over Messi, 21 chances created, number one in assist, XG of assist 3.101, expected assists 3.54. That's a crazy stat to have. Open play assist of 2.16, leading in almost every bracket you put him to, except goals. That's what you want from your creative midfielder. And remember, Griezmann has been playing a number 10 role, which we're not quite used to seeing Griezmann play. This time, Didier Deschamps, as I mentioned, all what he is asking of this team is to defend in defensive transitions, defend like put your bodies, and attack with so much of creativity, attack with freedom. He's given the complete onus and freedom to attack the way they like to attack. And that's made Griezmann look like a player who can play anywhere a bracket of a player who is really world class even at this point. A reason why Barcelona spent 120 million on this lad is because this is what he can bring into the table. But the fact is that Barcelona did not play him in did not play him in an ideal position because there was Messi in the team. And Messi and Griezmann does not go well in the same team because they both play a very
Yeah.
similar role.
I think there's a similar
And
question able to this as well. I mean,
yeah,
while you're covering it, I think Carlos Fernandez has also asked about Paulo Dybala. I think that's the reason why Paulo Dybala is also not playing in this 11, right? It's because him and Messi can play very similar kind of role.
yes, but if Dybala is there in the same team, right? There's another possibility which can happen, which is Messi playing as a number nine and Dybala coming in Messi's role, which you saw in the last game towards the last 10 minutes, where Dybala came on in the pitch for the first time in the entire World Cup, which I was quite happy to see. At last, he got an opportunity to step into the field in a World Cup game, which did not happen over the last 4 years. And finally, he got an opportunity, and it was basically to give rest to some of the players. And it was basically telling out to Croatia as well. We know we have won the game. Now you have no chance coming back into this, and it was a
Yeah,
fact. There was no
it
way they
was.
could have come back into that game. Croatia looked absolutely clueless in that point. They had no penetration at all. Even with Dutch team, it was two moments of brilliance from Verhulst, which really took the team into that extra time. Or else even
Yeah,
Dutch team had no chance throughout the course of that game. So here is what it is. Um, for Dybala to come into the team, he really doesn't fit into the system. But on the other side, if we look at someone like a Lautaro Martinez, he also plays in a very deep role. I made this point several times on this show that how Lautaro Martinez does not really fit into the Argentinian system because you do not have enough runners in the team. But Di Maria with Messi, they both drop in deep, so you need runners who can make the in behind runs behind the defensive line, break open the lines, especially when it comes to the intercept when you're putting the intercepting balls in through the middle. Hence, Julian Alvarez have been the go-to man. There's a
hmm,
reason why Pep Guardiola preferred this lad to replace Haaland time and time again because there's something special about him. You
there
see
is.
that you see that in the way he plays. I remember it was I don't remember which match it was against Liverpool. Uh, I think it was a Sheffield Shield. It was a Sheffield Shield. The first opening game of before the season against Liverpool. I think City lost the game 3-1, and he was brought into the park where Haaland had a couple of really horrifying misses in that first game,
Mhm.
where people were like, "What is this guy all about?" And there, Julian Alvarez was brought into the pitch, and I was like, how can he really compete against a Van Dijk, or how is he going to really go up against a strong Liverpool team who has had probably one of the best seasons? They were in challenge for quadruple. They were in contention for almost every trophy they played for. So even against that team, he was giving Van Dijk a run for the money. He was taking Van
Yeah,
Dijk on. There was clear cut chance where he was taking Van Dijk on one. He was trying to drift wide against Van Dijk, trying to take on Andy Robertson, beat Andy Robertson with pace. And I was like, wow, this guy's got something. And he scored a goal. Ultimately, he scored a goal. And the only
he
goal
did.
came
He
from
did.
Julian Alvarez in that game. And
I mean, what was
that's
supposed to be the debutant ball for Haaland turned out to be a debutant ball for Alvarez. And from then on,
absolutely.
we've
And
seen how much talented this lad is. Any other club, if not for Man City, he would be starting. But it's just the fact that they've got Haaland is the reason why he's on the bench, and that's just scary because that shows how much for depth Man City has. I mean, obviously, we're not speaking about it in the World Cup.
no,
We will
there's
cover
another
them when
thing which is
UEFA
there.
comes up.
For a lad from South American football to come in into his first season and to be a
Yeah,
rotational player in a Manchester City squad who are the defending champions of Premier League. Not to flex here anything regarding a City fan, but the fact is this, uh, because a lot of people who follow us knows that I'm a City fan. But the fact is that I was pretty much shocked because you had what Riyad Mahrez, you have you have you had a Gabriel Jesus who you let go of because Gabriel Jesus wanted more minutes on the pitch. You have a Grealish. You have several players to replace. You have Bernardo Silva, but still to prefer someone like a Julian Alvarez off the pitch, off the bench,
mhm,
straight as a swap for Erling Haaland time and time again in the 70th minute of every game, and Julian Alvarez is a player to replace him. There's something which speaks about this lad. If you're already considered as a rotational player at such a young age of for a Premier League championship squad, then there's something special about you.
I
And
mean,
even
and
Pep said,
that too, you are expected to fill the shoes of someone who is probably the successor of Ronaldo Messi, what do you say, legacy.
and I'm pretty sure Pep has seen something in the Argentinian talent as he saw with several other Argentinian talents over years. And he's got a very good story with that, the Argentinian
Yeah, yeah,
talent
yeah.
scouting and how he's trying to develop several Argentinian talents as well. So I'm pretty sure there is certainly something which Pep has seen, and you're seeing in this World Cup, right? How Messi have been able to link up with Julian Alvarez time and time again. How Julian Alvarez have made that runs into the box. If you look at that first goal which came up against Croatia in that game, which was a penalty, of course, but then that run which was made by Julian Alvarez to win that penalty, that in itself,
Hmm.
you have to give credit to Julian Alvarez for
I
that
mean,
particular run.
you really felt like, that goal belonged to Julian Alvarez because he did everything right except for that chip. That is where it bent a bit wrong, and you can understand that because there was quite a bit of pressure by Livakovic, who timed his run, I would say, towards Julian Alvarez, who made it difficult for Julian
I
Alvarez.
mean,
But then
there's
he
a lot of
made up.
controversy about whether that was a
There
penalty or not.
was, there
Anything
was.
which anything which obstructs a player from scoring a goal, and if it's a goalkeeper doing it who changes the path of a player, then it's a penalty. That's exactly what happened. Liverpool's hand did obstruct the path of the player, and that was changing the course of path as well. It's a very gray area.
It
In
is, it is.
football, it's
I
like a
mean, you
touch
can
and
argue,
go.
Abel, on the other hand, the other critics have argued. I mean, what your position is, what the referee saw as well. But there's another school of thought, right, which says that Livakovic did not actually move. He was just standing still, and from then on, that collision was imminent, and that's something I think it's a gray area. If the referee fell on either side, there would have been criticism.
Yeah, just taking away that penalty, but just look at that run, look at that impact which he created in that
Yeah.
particular moment of time
And
in
it was
that play,
against a
right?
run of play as well because Croatia, were looking like the dominant team, that came
Yeah,
out of nowhere, really.
it
And
did come
that's
out
where
of
the
nowhere, and
tide
that's what changed
changed.
the course of the match ultimately as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Let's take
that's
some of the
what,
comments. I mean, yeah.
yeah.
Abel,
Yeah,
let's
go
take
ahead,
some
go
of the
ahead, go ahead.
comments, right? Priyanka says, Football Manager Abel is back with specs. Abel looks like he's going to split open tactical masterclass. I think that's what we are expecting Abel to do here. All in for Messi's last triumph. Yes, Azal, that's the romantic story, romanticization of Messi's story, the culmination of Messi's World Cup run from '06. Let's all hope it ends at 2022. Carlos Fernandez, I think you already answered this question. Why Scaloni has been reluctant on Dybala. Um, Helga Fruler says Argentina. I don't like them because I am German. Well, I think if I'm not wrong, Helga, there is a certain bit of what do you say rivalry with the French team as well. So you might not really like this final lineup towards the end. I think.
Yeah, it's one final Germans will avoid watching in a lot of ways. They just don't like dwelling their heads into this because there's nothing you
Yeah.
like about the final. If you look at both the sides, there's nothing you like about the final if you are a German, and
Yeah.
but it is what it is. I mean, it happens. For example,
I mean, we really hope next year
that was
the German
literally
team
me
finally
watching the
makes a
cricket
mark on
World
the
Cup
World Cup.
final, T20 World Cup final. There was nothing like about the final, to be very honest.
I
There
thought we
was
liked the
nothing.
English team.
I don't like either of them. So, but I like watching English team play because the brand of cricket and all that.
Yeah, I mean, they've been
I
playing some exciting cricket, but let's go on to some of the stats here, as we're seeing on the screen right here. This stat shows about Messi performing under pressure. This is after minimum 100 pressures received. By the way, pressure here means, pressure from a defender and not from the situation of the game. Um,
yeah, let's just clarify that.
yeah, but let's thank some of our editors, Abel, before we start
Yeah,
for the stats, for the
absolutely,
wonderful
Jaren.
stats that we have.
I mean, special shout out to Gopal, Gopinath, Devjit,
Yeah,
Anahat, everybody who have been working tirelessly through the course of the World Cup. I'll give them a special mention tomorrow,
absolutely.
but then they've had a fantastic time in the World Cup in terms of putting up the work, giving us the assets time and time again. So a huge shout out to them. They've
Yeah,
really helped us in terms of thumbnails and helping us really put these videos out because they are the real people who are working on the backstage day in and
absolutely.
day out. So credits to them. And yeah, coming back to this particular stat which we have on the screen. Yeah, go ahead, Jaren.
Yeah, I mean, as you look right here, you have pressure received, and then you have pressure received per 90, and you look right there in that quadrant on the top, left, top right corner, you will see that Messi is very high up there. Lewandowski is doing really well in terms of percentage of pressure received. There are high pressure, and if you look at it, really Lionel Messi is kind of hitting that sweet spot, isn't it? Where he's high on both ends. But right behind him, if you can spot right here, Abel, is Kylian Mbappe. And it's going to be really between these two, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Lionel Messi, this World Cup, he's been just going back in time, because after that, like that middling season which he had with PSG in the last season, this season to come back and to put up a performance like this. If you look at that, the trio of PSG, they are literally there on that list. Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi, almost has similar length. And Jamal Musiala has always been a cutout player. He's been
Yeah.
one of the best players of the tournament who has not made it to the knockouts, unfortunately, because Germany
I
have
mean,
played
he
some really
carried that German team, right? And it's so odd because this is his first World Cup, and you expect a German team to carry this youngster, but it's been Jamal Musiala who's carried the German team.
absolutely. And that's why I personally feel, he was really unlucky to miss out. Now
Yeah.
that's where I wish he was part of the English team rather than the German team. I think it would have really made a lot of difference into
He
that
could
English
have, by
team.
the way, guys. It's not something anybody is pulling out of random because Bellingham and Musiala have played together in junior level football for England, isn't it? If I'm not wrong, Abel.
Yeah, because Jamal Musiala is born in England and he's brought up in England as well. He played
Yeah.
under 17s for England, and he switched, of course, because he went to Germany. Then he was eligible to be a German citizen. He was eligible for the
Hmm.
German passport, and hence he's
Yeah.
playing for Germany now.
Yeah, I mean, it could have. I'm probably, England would have really loved the fact that to have someone like Jamal Musiala in their team. But let's talk about this battle, right, between Messi and Kylian Mbappe. You would somehow say, the veteran and the rising star, maybe even a mentor and a mentee, because they both play for Paris Saint-Germain. They're very important members of that team. Two clubs, by the way, who are going to really benefit tomorrow's final. By the way, guys, I mean, if you guys don't know this, the clubs, right, the football clubs do receive some amount of compensation from from the respective national FAs. For example, I mean, the English team, for instance, making the semi-finals, the English team does give some amount of remuneration to the clubs as well. In that sense, Manchester United and Paris Saint Germain, two teams who are really going to benefit tomorrow.
Yeah, Manchester United, Paris Saint Germain, Barcelona, because there's a clause of Messi which
Barcelona.
is still valid in Barcelona. If Messi wins the World Cup, they get 120,000 euros, and if Griezmann wins the World Cup, they get 114 euros. So, and if
Yeah.
Dembele wins the World Cup as well, there is a certain amount of euros, and if also Jules Koundé wins the World Cup, there's a certain amount of euros which come to Barcelona's pocket as well.
Barcelona needs it, guys. So maybe France is what Barcelona is supporting today, tomorrow.
But I think Barcelona fan base, though there's Dembele, Koundé playing, they're pretty much inclined on their best ever to don the Barcelona jersey to win that World Cup, because they've been part of the journey with Messi, right? Though he is playing for a French club ultimately at this point, and he's really
I think
been,
Barcelona's the twirlers can never let go of Lionel Messi.
nobody can. And if you look at most of the Barcelona fans who have really followed Barcelona are Argentinian fans because of this man.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
tomorrow, when he is going to don the Argentinian jersey for the one last time, there's definitely going to be that emotional connect, and it's going to be a very special occasion for a lot of fans.
yes,
2014 was special. I think this is going to be the ultimate moment of it all. There's been no World Cup where I've seen Messi being so involved, as you mentioned regarding Maradona's aggression. That's really helped Messi and the team. The
yeah, yeah, yeah.
aggression, that boiling blood within that camp. Whenever you put a player down, five players surrounding and pushing you away, the way in which they have took on every
I mean,
manager
you
who have
touch
been in
one
the World Cup.
Argentinian shirt, the next 10 Argentinian shirts are going to be on you very soon, and that's what we
And
saw in the Netherlands game,
that's
right?
a very dangerous thing. And the thing is, the
Yeah,
more you tinker with them, more they're at you. And
yeah,
French team, especially like so Kylian Mbappe and lads, if they're going to tinker with this team tomorrow, you know that they really, really give it back to you, and they
yeah,
give it back to you with performance, not just with their physicality. And that's not a good thing to actually go up against. And hence, French team has been very, very subtle in terms of rating Argentina as an opposition. Today during the press conference, Didier Deschamps was really throwing heaps of praise for Messi. He can't really say Messi is the best player in the world because there's Mbappe who will really get him upset at that particular statement, and he might not even turn up to the pitch tomorrow because that's the kind of player he has been. No disrespect, guys, but then just looking at the previous history of what he's done
yeah,
with whatever
yeah,
he
yeah.
players. Uh, yeah, I mean, but Mbappe himself have accepted. Mbappe himself looks up to Messi and
He
Ronaldo,
does,
and
he does.
look, you can't compare the both because Mbappe is really just starting it off. Remember, he's just 23 and he's already in the
Yeah,
second World Cup, and he is he's on a goat path at this point. If he wins this World Cup, he has what 12, 15 years to win as many Ballon d'Ors as he wants. And if he wins the World Cup, I think there's nobody who's going to stop him from
I
winning a
mean,
Ballon
you
d'Or
have to
this year.
also. I mean, there is a lot of discussion, right, about the fact that Mbappe is not probably being able to get those Ballon d'Ors. But you have to understand it's not easy to still win those Ballon d'Ors because both Ronaldo and Messi haven't done bad even in their twilight years. Especially Messi, I think he's just not. He's just aging like fine wine, as they say. He's especially leading up to this World Cup. He's looked really determined. And if he wins, I think both Mbappe and Messi, the way they've played this season for Paris Saint Germain, I think if whoever wins the World Cup here is almost guaranteeing the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, I mean, look at tomorrow's
And you
the
know
World
what? I
Cup
mean, I just
final,
add
right?
another aspect to it, Abel. If tomorrow Messi wins the World Cup or Mbappe wins the World Cup, then whoever, I mean, it's going to become that much more important for the other, right? Whoever ends up on the losing side to win the Champions League. Not to forget, there's a Neymar who's already upset about losing the World Cup. So there's already, Neymar who's probably very much pumped for the Champions League, who's going to be
Oh,
thrilled.
see, that's a funny part of it.
Yeah,
If Mbappe is going to win the Champions League, Messi is also going to be part of the squad. So
exactly. So you're going to
so
see
Messi is going to
three
have a World Cup
players
and the Champions League.
regardless of what happens, Abel, you're going to see three players who are critical to Paris Saint Germain's success, who are going to be really, really pumped for the Champions League, regardless of the win or not, especially Messi and Mbappe.
See, Jaren, there are two things to this debate, right? I think regardless of whoever wins the Champions League, the winner of tomorrow's World Cup, there are two best players. Look, the World Cup final is set up beautifully. You have
Yeah.
four people who can be a Golden Boot winner when it comes to Julian Alvarez, Giroud, Mbappe, and Messi. Messi and Mbappe are tied up in 5 goals. I'll just pull up the stat for you people so that you people can actually understand what's been happening in terms of rivalry, in terms of what's been happening on the Messi Mbappe thing. See,
Yeah.
so they've had a crazy season in terms of stats. It's just their take on stats. It's just their fouls won in terms of how they've been in this World Cup. They both have been outstanding. They both have been having one of the best World Cups of their career so far. And I don't think anyone has had such good World Cup in a long, long time. I mean, I can't remember when was the last time when two players had such impactful World Cups where they were so close to actually, taking it all for the, taking it all in sense,
Hmm.
taking it completely for their owner, owning the World Cup. And this World Cup has been all about that. If either of them wins the World Cup, it'll just literally look like they own the World Cup. Uh, Messi very close to beating Maradona's all-time record. That is 10 goal and assist contributions in a single World Cup in 1986, which people still remember and adore Maradona for. An entire generation or two generations of people worship Maradona for the very fact that he had 10 goal contributions in that World Cup. He made football look magical in 1986, and that's a fact.
Hmm.
Whoever witnessed Maradona play know that he was something of his own. On his day, he was a player who had something running on his veins. Not quite literally, guys, but yeah, in a footballing sense. so and um yeah, that was what Maradona was all about. And now in front of our eyes, Messi is pulling out a Maradona,
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
pulling out a Maradona. Now let's just look at the stat,
Easily.
right? This stat in itself speaks a story. This stat is all about what everybody wants to see. Now, if you look at the number of goals contribution, 8 direct goal contribution, goals and assists combined with Messi, 7 for Mbappe because it's 5 goals, and 2 assists for Mbappe, 5 goals, 3 assists for Mbappe. In that 2 assists by Messi is possibly the two best assists in World Cup history, possibly. 3 goals. Now look at the number of goals scored in terms of open play, right? Three. And in terms of Mbappe, it has been two. And in terms of man of the match of awards, it's been 4 and 3 for Mbappe. Messi has had slightly better tournament in terms of carrying an entire Argentinian team. But when it comes to Messi's attacking progression, right, that's something which has been extremely impressive. Now, the way in which he's made those final third passes, he's had close to what 18 chances which he has created, which is second to Griezmann in this entire tournament in terms of chances created in the final third. And in terms of pressure applied, he's second and third on the list. He's been able to sustain extreme pressure. I'm going to pull that stat again for you people so they can have a better visual capture as to how it has been for him. He's been what close to third. He's been very close to he's been very close to Neymar and Di Maria, but He's been able to sustain the pressure and still create those
Hmm.
20, 18 chances, 18 open chances, and give those three magical assists, which you'll remember for the longest period of time. In that, two of them, one against Guardiola was just Messi magic, and one against
Yeah,
one with
that's all.
Nathan Ake and Daily Blind was on him, and to put a cut through pass between them for Molina to score, that was outstanding. So Messi has had probably tournament of his lifetime, and if Messi goes on to win the World Cup tomorrow, people are going to remember this forever. I don't know if it's going to outweigh Maradona's achievement of 1986, but
Oh,
certainly it's going to be
that
on
is one of
par
my
for sure.
questions, Abel. That I was just going to ask you, and now that you've really pulled, it's like you stepped on the landmine. I'll ask you this now: Is Messi the greatest ever Argentinian to touch the football?
Oh no, man! I mean, in terms of touching the football, greatest of Argentina, yes, but in terms of greatest
See,
ever player,
I'm not talking about like I know that Maradona's won more World Cups, and he is someone who's he's the kind of person who brought Argentina to the forefront of football in glory, right? It is always they always were under the shadows of their of Brazil for a long time until Maradona stepped up, and then from then on Argentina became a force in football. But you really have to also see the fact that ever since Maradona, and also, I mean, for me at least, I really feel, in comparison to the teams that Messi's had, if you remove the 2022 team, this current squad, you look at
yeah.
this other squads that Messi's had, and then you compare them to what Maradona had. I think Messi's had a lot more, talent wise, the depth was always lacking in Messi's squad in comparison to what Maradona had. Maradona had still some of the best players in his generation.
I mean, he did have someone like a Bursaga. He
I mean,
had
if you were able to create an all-time 11 of Argentinian players, probably from this generation, you wouldn't see a lot of players from Messi's generation. You'd see a lot of players from Maradona's generation.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of players from Maradona's generation will make it because they were part of World Cup triumph because they did get that silverware and they did get back to back silverware in 8 years. Now here, Messi's going to play back to back World Cup in 8 years, and there's a possibility he doesn't get none. He doesn't get anything in the
Yeah.
two World Cup final he plays. So that's such a bad thing to have as well. But here is an opportunity for France to create something which is out of the blue as well. At the same for Argentina to create a new song for their history, which is to win a World Cup after what 26 long years. It's a long wait. 26 years is a long wait.
Especially for the kind
Uh,
of fan base that Argentina
or
has,
26, 36 long years. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
sorry,
36
36.
long
Correct.
years.
I mean,
36
the kind
long
of
years
fan
is
base
a
that
long wait.
Argentina has, as you say, for Real Madrid, they expect a Champions League every year. This Argentinian team, ever since Maradona, has expected a World Cup every 4 years, and for them to be disappointed time and time again, especially ever since Messi started to play, there's been an expectation, that weight of expectation that Messi is going to be the boy to carry the
But Messi has
Maradona
never had the
legacy.
squad. Messi has never had the squad to
He's never
really
had the
compete
squad,
in a
yeah.
World Cup. In 2010, they had possibly the worst squad and they got rightly knocked out by Germany in the round of 16. They got 4-0 knocked out, if I'm not wrong. They got knocked, they got a thrashing from Germany. In 2014, he did not have a
I think
squad.
Maradona was the coach for that team,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Maradona was the coach for that. In 2014, they came very close. They
But
were
Messi's the one
inches
who
close
carried that
against
team.
Germany
You
once
have to
again.
say.
That still wasn't the best squad. If you look at that squad, it
And
was
I
never
mean,
good enough. See,
the
in
kind of
1980,
chances Abel they created, any other team with a better quality, right? The kind of chances, especially Messi created in that first half for Argentina in that final against Germany, Higuain missing so many. That was just a shocker, right? I think someone like a Julian Alvarez at that time would have scored at least two.
absolutely, and that's something which you need. And if you look at 1986 final as well, someone like a Bursaga, he had a fantastic tournament. We talk about Maradona, but talk about someone like a Bursaga. He scored a couple of goals in the final against West Germany in the final. He absolutely helped in linking up with Diego Maradona. Someone like a Batista had a terrific tournament. Borgi had a
Yeah.
terrific tournament. That I can pick out players of it's an iconic 11 which started against West Germany in that final, and they all became iconic not just because of one game. They had a terrific tournament. Through the course of the tournament, they put in performances which you still remember. And out of them all, Maradona was a standout. And hence you remember Maradona a little bit more. But to be talking about that, I still think Messi hasn't had the squad, and hence Messi has not also got that glory. But talking about the greatest ever Argentinian player, Maradona is still on top, and there is no doubt about it. Even if Messi wins tomorrow, Maradona still remains on top. It's like uh, he's the he's the ultimate god, and is Messi is still the a god in making is not yet there.
So you're saying hand of God wins.
Yeah, hand of God wins. He literally wins. He literally takes it all.
Well, Shinwari Ahmed says Allah's blessings on Morocco. Hope they win the World Cup. Shinwari, I think now you'll have to wait for 4 more years for really Morocco to go on that run. They have ended up at the fourth position today against Croatia, 2-1.
Yeah,
Second time though in this whole World Cup, a team has scored against this Moroccan team. So this Moroccan team has had an amazing run. Let's talk about their story, right? I mean, what a
yeah,
brilliant story. It really has been the story. One of the stories of this year's World Cup, the Moroccan team coming so far out, beating Spain, beating Portugal, did very well against France as well. There were many historical underlinings to these games as well. But
yeah.
overall, the first World Cup in a Middle Eastern country, in a Muslim country, and a Muslim nation, really, upholding the dreams of the Muslim world, so as to speak.
Absolutely. And there's a beautiful story regarding this. Okay, when Walid Regragui actually took over Morocco, he took it over from Wahid, and there was like, okay, you just replace a person because of his name now, and he brought in a person with a similar name. There was a lot of criticism in Moroccan media calling Walid Regragui an avocado head who will not be able to achieve anything in Morocco, and there was a lot of criticism. And remember that this lad is just taken over this team 100 days ago, and
Hmm.
there was a lot of tension in the camp because Hakim Ziyech did not like playing for Morocco. He had a huge fallout between the former manager. For him to convince Hakim Ziyech to come back into the Moroccan team and entrust him with a certain responsibility that you're going to be one of our main mans in this World Cup, in itself, it's a huge, huge thing. And remember that Hakim Ziyech has probably had the World Cup of his lifetime, or possibly one of the best tournaments any player could have it in the World Cup. And that's a fantastic feat to achieve of its own. For a player to actually have that kind of a World Cup, for a player to actually dominate in this World Cup the way he did, that was fantastic, man. That was fantastic from
Yeah.
Hakim Ziyech. I talk about Walid Regragui and talk about every player in the team. I have to firstly give credit to the manager because he's the one who really transformed the team. They believed that they could actually play a certain philosophy of football and get the results. It's so important to stick to your philosophy. I keep telling this time and time again. There are teams who do not get results, but at the same time, there are teams who believe in the philosophy and go a long way. And I thought Moroccan team was just an example of that, who believed that their biggest strength is defending. They knew when it comes to matching other teams in terms of talent pool, they cannot match them on paper. They cannot match them when it comes to man to man. They really had to defend them. They really had to wait for their opportunity, attack on counters. Let's talk about someone like an El Nesri. He had the most number of pressure applied by a striker uh, against the opposition midfield. He applied intense amount of pressure. I think his pressure application was 100 in terms of the 120 he applied, and that was very good in terms of the number of balls he had won in the opponent's half. And Hakim Ziyech was also on the list. But I have to talk about Sufyan Amrabat. I think he has really risen up. He has really made European clubs take a notice of this guy now. I mean, I'm talking about top European clubs. We talk about N'Golo Kante. 70% of the world is covered by water, and the rest is covered by Sufyan Amrabat. That's the name which has come out of the World Cup. And I mean, what a fantastic World Cup he's had. He's really covered his ground. He's really put in the work. He's done all the dirty work. He's given his heart out for the team in terms of the way he's held the ball, in terms of him creating chances. Aunahi, what a fantastic tournament he had. What a fantastic tournament. For a youngster of 20, 21 years old to have a tournament like that, I think he's a player to watch out for the next one generation. Uh, and of course, Ashraf Hakimi is really put in. He played like a leader on the pitch, and he really showed that this guy. And Bono, he's
Yeah, yeah.
probably going to be one of the contenders for the Golden Glove. I don't think he's going to win it, but the fact is that he was definitely there. He really helped them through the course of this tournament. Really was he gave it his all in terms of him coming up against some top oppositions, coming up against Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the most elite players, greatest of all time, to actually block one of that shots and actually recover and not let that actually have a rebound in itself is a
Yeah.
huge thing, and that's fantastic from Bono as well. But to talk about all of these things, I personally think out of all of these things, I still will give credit to Walid Regragui for actually building a team who have really gone on to do well for this consistent base of 45 days. it's just not them starting it here, right? In the World Cup, what the first match they came out against Croatia, it was a nil-nil draw. People thought, there's something about this team, but definitely not something exciting about the team. But then for them to go out there and win or get a result against Belgium, that was fantastic. That was the turning point for this team. I thought that was the moment where they really felt like, okay, now
Yeah.
we've got this belief, we've got a bunch of lads who can actually turn it around for us in a World Cup and actually get results against the world number one, the former world number one team or world number two team at this point. That's when the beliefs are coming in. Then they went on to defeat Canada. The game came against Spain where they looked a lot more confident against Spain, and Portugal game was one of the best games. They killed it against Portugal. They gave no opportunity to Portugal except the last one, Pepe's header, which came. That was the only opportunity where Portugal came so close. Even Ronaldo's chance, Ronaldo in his prime would have scored that. He would have drifted slightly wide and actually would have tried to go far side of Bono, but it did not happen. Uh, but let's talk about Morocco, man. They absolutely knew how to manage a game from the word go. Even against France, I thought they were the better team. They had n number of opportunities where they could have actually capitalized, and if they would have actually equalized with 1-1, they would have possibly taken that game very deep and would have made France struggle. But
Hmm.
it was not meant to be.
And I mean, who
Possibly
knows?
Morocco would have played a
Kylian
World Cup
Mbappe.
final.
I mean, Kylian Mbappe has not taken a high-profile penalty ever since the last one, which he missed.
Yeah.
So,
So there were a lot of ifs and buts. There were a lot of permutations and combinations which could have actually happened, and where Morocco would have had another day to witness a World Cup final, probably the most glorious day for Middle East and African continent at large. And they've had a fantastic run. As Peter rightly mentioned, they were the Atlas Lions. They really had that moment, for them to come up against a neighboring nation like Portugal and really show it all was fantastic. Was fantastic. It was just outstanding.
I mean, we spoke about obviously Yasin Bono, and there's always been Livakovic as well for Croatia. But I'll talk about another character, right, for tomorrow's final. I mean, because that's pretty much what we're looking forward to. Emiliano Martinez, he is someone who was, part of the Arsenal squad, went on 6 loan spells, if I'm not wrong. Then Arsenal bring in, then Arsenal get rid of Leno. And it almost seemed like, okay, this is the time for Martinez to step up. But then they buy a Ramsdale, and it almost seemed like it was the end for Emiliano Martinez. But then he goes to Aston Villa, where most players, when once they go from Arsenal to Aston Villa, you expect that their career is going a downtrodden path. But then that's where his career really rose, right? A mid-table team, not even a mid-table team really, because the Aston Villa that he joined was a lower table team, a team which is bouncing between Championship and Premier League. But he has been a wall for them. And then now to come with his Argentinian team, the kind of calm headedness, because I remember that match against Manchester United, where he was challenging Ronaldo to take the penalty. You don't see many goalkeepers do that. And then when Bruno Fernandes does mess up the penalty, you know that the celebration that he does, right? He's just a character, isn't it?
Well, he is. He's really had that very strong head so far in these big moments, and he's really had that really rub off into the Argentinian team as well when it comes to pressure moments. He looks like a leader, and he looks like a future captain of this team as well. He really does look like he's really coming off
And
as a
I mean,
character.
I was just speaking to you about him because then there's a comparison, right? We spoke about Messi and Mbappe, but it kind of switches. Now there's Hugo Lloris, who's been, the leader figure for this French team for a long time. Even in the last World Cup, he was one of their best players. His career, though, obviously with the age and a lot of other factors, is coming towards the end. This probably could be a last hurrah for him as well, something that people have not spoken a lot about. He's been an unsung hero for France. Now it's Emiliano Martinez, a rising name in probably among the goalkeepers, and Hugo Lloris is a, you would say, a dying star of sorts, because his career is coming to an end as well. Two players who will again be looking to, one player will be looking to repeat what he did last time around, and another who will be hoping to win it for Messi and his country.
I mean, it can go either way, man. I mean, Hugo Lloris has not had the best of tournaments as a goalkeeper like what he had
Yeah.
in 2018. That's
Because I
also.
mean, Abel, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off again. But if you talk about the clean sheets, right? Argentina in their 5 matches have conceded, have had 3 clean sheets, while France has only had one. And Hugo Lloris and Emiliano Martinez play a role there, don't they?
They do play a role there, but for Hugo Lloris, it's just not been a good time for him with the club football as well. He's made some
Yeah.
horrendous mistakes on his way through. He's made some unforced errors time and time again when it comes to his keeping. That's also because he's coming to that time in his age where reflexes come down, where your concentration
Hmm.
really dips. He's in the later part of the 30s as well, but he's been an impeccable figure for this French national team. Captained this team to the World Cup, won them the World Cup last time around. Yet again, an opportunity to win another World Cup, back-to-back World Cups. Very few keepers have had an opportunity to do that in this era, and he's going to be remembered for the World Cups more than what he's had with Spurs. So he's
Yeah.
going to have an opportunity to be remembered as two-time world champion tomorrow, and that's what's all going to matter ultimately. If he's going to have one good game tomorrow, nobody's going to remember what he's going to do with Spurs. Nobody's going to remember how bad a career he's had with Spurs. He's going to be remembered in the history books as one of the finest French national goalkeepers, and the only
Hmm.
French national goalkeeper to have two back-to-back World Cups or two World Cup
Yeah.
trophies, or to add two stars under the belt for the French logo or the French crest. So that's what matters the most tomorrow, and that's what Hugo Lloris will try to put in tomorrow. That's what the kind of performance Hugo Lloris will try to bring into the table tomorrow. So I don't doubt him, and I think nobody should doubt Hugo Lloris with the kind of capability he's got, or with the kind of ability he's got to change a match, because he is a person for the big occasions as well. When it comes to him trying to save an important penalty, he's always going to step up. For him to try to save a one-on-one situation with some of the best players in the world, he can step up because he's got that skill in him. He's got that temperament in him to handle these kind of situations. So there's no denying the fact that Hugo Lloris is a world class keeper, and that's one of the
Hmm.
reasons why French national team have actually progressed so deep into the tournament, are playing the second consecutive final in 4 years. And every member in the French national team, for example, I have to give credit to Jules Koundé. He's been put in a right back position coming after an injury, and he's had possibly the best tournament as a right back in the entire tournament. Uh, he's really put in a shift, playing out of position. He's really had to do a lot of defensive work, and he's done that with so much of work rate. He's done it with so much of perfection. Theo Hernandez on the other side, on the left hand side, has had a very good tournament. With his brother getting ruled out of the tournament, it just looked like he's going to have no support on the left hand side. But then him trying to put in a shift on the left hand side has really bolstered this French team in a huge manner. And the defensive partnership of Konate Varane have been very, very good as well. So they've been, in terms of France defense, they've had possibly the best defensive tournament so far. Though they've conceded goals, they've looked shaky at times, but their defense can always rise up to occasion. And Chouameni
Yeah.
has been the player to watch out for. He has been
Yes.
really
Yes.
balling it out there. Um, Even for Real Madrid, I really thought this could be a season where he'll take time to get adjusted. But from the word go, you saw there was something special about Chouameni from the way he donned the Real Madrid colors. And remember, he's filling in the boots of N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba at the same time, and he has left no stone unturned in terms of the way he has really put up a performance, really put up a shift. So for me, the Argentinian team will be against a hill where they have to really, really compete really hard against a very, very determined and a very gritty French team who really want to attack you and kill you in a way. In terms of outclassing you tactically, in terms of outclassing you in terms of their pace, in terms of their aggression. But then it's going to be a very close match. It's going to be an extremely, extremely close match tomorrow because uh, France are also extremely vulnerable. We have seen so many holes in the French national team. If you're able to
Hmm.
capitalize on that, then you can really hurt the French team as well. Similarly for Argentinian team.
I mean, it's going to be a very exciting final. We'll be back tomorrow. Obviously, we'll cover the final and everything that happens because by tomorrow we'll be having a world champion, and the crown will be taken off France, or will France go back once again with the crown? That's the question that remains. Fawaz Roshan has put himself along with the Argentinian millions of Argentinian fans who want the
Yes.
Argentina to go ahead when complete that story, the crescendo of Messi's World Cup career from '06. This lad has been trying. Could this is fine? Is his final hurrah, as he's already said, win or loss is going to be my final World Cup. And 11 players who are going to be, 10 players who are going to be
So
wanting
Jared,
Messi to
I
win.
I actually lived 8 years for this day. I remember 2014. I think it was July 13th, 2014. Uh, I mean, I was absolutely distorted when Germany defeated Argentina. Mario Götze's goal came out of the run of play. I was never expecting that. But I actually lived 8 years for this moment. I was like, next World Cup, it just did not happen. I saw possibly the worst World Cup for Argentina last year. Got knocked out by this French national team. So there's a revenge to be settled. In terms of that, we already settled the scores with Croatia. They defeated us 3-0 in the last World Cup. Now it's time to actually settle the scores with the French national team as well. It was a 4-3 game against a squad which Argentina, which put up a Pavon, Ever Banega, Otamendi. There was an occasion where he played as a midfielder. Mascherano played as a midfielder in that team. Well, they were old legs trying to defeat Mbappe's pace, which did not really work. Mbappe was playing like a FIFA player who had 95 pace against defenders who were 60 rated, 60 pace, and Mbappe was just making a.
I think you've
Mbappe
already
was having a
described
ball
their
there.
actual stats on FIFA.
Yeah.
I'm saying you might have already described their actual stats on FIFA.
I might be wrong and I might be right also at the same time. But the fact is that everybody waited for this day for like what 8 years, and finally it's here.
Yeah.
It's already 12. It's already 1 in the morning, and it's the day. It's the D day, as they say.
Just a few hours, I think. So here at local time, it's going to be 8:30, which means close to what? 19, 18 hours left.
19, 18 hours. You're gonna see the World Cup final being kicked off. I mean, I'm buzzing already for this moment. You live 4 years for this moment. This is the most iconic day in sporting history. There is no World
Yeah.
Cup. People talk about cricket, but nothing comes close to a football World
I
Cup
think there's
final.
no, I mean, there is no, sporting event that really captures eyeballs and imagination like the FIFA World Cup. And tomorrow there's glory to be won, regardless on which side you are. But that's it from us for today. Thank you, Abel, for joining us. Thank you, guys, for joining us. And we'll be back tomorrow with a new champion and analyze each and everything that happened throughout the game. And hopefully, for Abel's sake and for my sake as well, it's going to be messy. Just putting in a little bit of bias out there, but whoever wins tomorrow is going to be deserving teams, deserving players, because it takes guts, glory, and courage to really end up to the finals of the World Cup, and it takes even more to make sure you get to the 90 or 120 minutes as the winner. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow with a lot more analysis on the game, and hopefully we have a cracker of a game, regardless of who wins.
Absolutely. Good night, all of you, and have a wonderful World Cup final. And do remember to play on Boom 11 for this World Cup final,
Yeah,
because there's
of
some
course.
exciting prizes awaiting you. You can win an iPhone 14 Pro. So the draws will be taking place on 20th of December. It's just few days away. So this is your opportunity. Get your hands on Boom 11 app. Download it right now if you haven't already. Sign up. Get the free in-game coins and have a ball of a time playing on Boom 11 the final, and also try out the predictor feature. Can Messi lift the World Cup, or will Mbappe lift the second World Cup and have a journey to be the greatest of all time in football, which can absolutely settle scores if he wins the second World Cup and wins few Ballon d'Ors on the way as well.
Oh,
So
also, if Messi wins the World Cup tomorrow, it could finally settle the GOAT debate.
yeah, which I don't think is more even not that to be settled. It's already settled in a
I
lot of
mean,
ways.
there'll be a lot of Ronaldo fans. Let's talk about this as well, right? There'll be a lot of
I don't
Ronaldo
think we have
fans.
to talk
Ronaldo
about
will
it
hate the
now.
fact
We'll talk about
that
it
the talk
tomorrow.
is
I think.
between Messi and Mbappe and not Messi and Ronaldo, because we're used to seeing Ronaldo always being compared, but he's just had that kind of a World Cup. I mean, you can't blame him as well because he's
The
37.
question is
Maybe he's
asking, do
35.
we have a good suggestion for the teams? It's not the teams. We have not actually given the predicted lineup, but then I'll say go in with Emiliano Martinez in the goal. Go for Jules Koundé in right back position. I'll give you five players, five important picks. Rest is up to you. Go for with Messi and Mbappe as your forward line, and go for Anton Griezmann as well, because he's going to be in the forward picks. So go for these three in your forward line: Mbappe, Messi, and Anton Griezmann. Jules Koundé, Emiliano Martinez. That's already the
Julian
three French
Alvarez.
players and two Argentinians. These are my top five fantasy picks. But I will still say going with Enzo Fernandez also in the midfield. Had a fantastic tournament so far. He can be an important factor, and an X factor player. If I have to give you, it should be Julian Alvarez. He can be an X factor player who can really
I think for
differentiate
me,
you.
if you are sticking with Abel's team and you want some changes, probably you can look at someone like Julian Alvarez, Chouameni as well.
So that's my point. Yeah. So X factor
Yeah,
player is going to be Julian Alvarez, and it's going to be, you can keep Chouameni and Enzo in your team because that's going to really solidify your midfield. I think it's going to be, it can be two ways, right? I possibly think it's going to be a low scoring game, so not to expect a lot of goal scorers. So go in with defenders, go in with midfielders who can really, have a lot more interceptions, complete a lot
Hmm.
more passes, who can win you these free hand points. So Enzo Fernandez, Chouameni, these lads will have a good time, but at the same time going with Antoine Griezmann, because the number of passes he's been completing in the final third, it's an exemplary charge. So keep him in your team alongside Messi, alongside Mbappe, but keep an X factor player in Julian Alvarez, because he can really have a turn. He can really have the game of his lifetime, and he'll be remembered for the history
And
books as
he
well.
is
He's
the kind
already,
of player who brings out these magical moments, right? He springs out of nowhere, scores a goal, and then disappears. And then again he'll be back soon.
yeah.
Once the ball is in the final third.
And remember, with Arjun, whenever he's been on the field, Arjun has scored 11 goals out of the 12. And whenever he's been off the field, Arjun have conceded 5 out of the 5 goals. So he's had an impeccable impact in terms of him applying
Yeah,
pressure. His application of pressure has been outstanding. Him making those decoy runs have been outstanding as well. So keep him in your team. He's going to be an important player. More than Giroud, I still feel Julian Alvarez holds the pace because he can press a lot. He can do a lot of things off the ball, which Giroud might not be able to do because, of course, of the young legs, because of the energy which Julian Alves generates on the pitch as well. So keep him in your team. He's going to be an X factor player. And do remember, he's going to have a lot of. He's going to earn you that maybe the crucial point to be a winner in Boom 11. And remember, it's absolutely free of cost to play. And try your hands on the Boom 11 app. And have a good night, all of you, once again. And what? We are just 18 hours away from the World Cup final. Enjoy the
yeah.
World Cup final, playing on Boom 11 at the same time, hopefully seeing your favorite player lift the ultimate triumph.